Orbital anomaly detected. Spectral pattern matches Class 3 missile launch. Source: suborbital vector.
Threat classification confirmed. Confidence 97.2%. Trajectory intersects zone delta within 42 seconds.
Engagement protocol Alpha 9 authorized. Prioritize kinetic kill.
Launch sequence initiated. Interceptor online. Guidance synced.
Multiple warhead signatures emerging. Adaptive targeting deployed.
Multi-vector solution locked. Interceptors assigned. Final intercept in 3, 2, 1.
All inbound objects neutralized. Sky restored.
Threat terminated. System returns to passive monitoring.
A war was just fought, above your head, beyond your senses. This is the new battlefield, where conflicts are silent, weapons unseen, and victory measured in milliseconds. At the heart of it all lies a gleaming shield, not of myth, but of metal, math, and might. They call it the Golden Dome. So, how did it all start? Since the dawn of the space age, outer space has been both a symbol of human ambition and a shadowy arena for strategic rivalry. The Cold War transformed space into the ultimate high ground in the global contest for dominance. In the 1950s, the United States raced to outpace adversaries with altitude and speed, epitomized by the U-2 spy plane flying at 70,000 feet, until the Soviets shot one down in 1960, shattering the illusion of safety in the skies. Just 3 years earlier, in 1957, by launching Sputnik, the world's first artificial satellite, the Soviets reached a domain where the US had no presence. The Soviets followed this with Sputnik 2, carrying Laika, the first living creature in orbit, while the US suffered a public setback when Vanguard TV-3 exploded on the launch pad. The space race was on, and the Soviets had tasted the first blood. In response, the US established NASA in 1958, sparking a historic rivalry marked by missions like Vostok, Cosmos, and Luna from the USSR, and Explorer, Vanguard, and Apollo from the US, culminating in Apollo 11's moon landing in 1969. Among the most bizarre concepts considered during this era was rods from God, massive tungsten rods in orbit designed to strike Earth targets at hypersonic speeds with the force of a tactical nuclear bomb, but without the radiation. More popular as Project Thor, the idea of kinetic orbital bombardment continues to influence military fraternity world over without being deployed ever. Since Sputnik, the number of satellites has skyrocketed from one in 1957 to nearly 17,000 by May 2025, with private enterprise propelling much of this growth. SpaceX's Starlink, for example, operates over 7,300 active satellites, representing more than 60% of the roughly 11,700 operational satellites today. So, how do you visualize space war? Epic dogfights and laser battles? The reality is far more complex and dangerous. Space war encompasses actual combat in orbit, satellites attacking satellites, space-based weapons targeting infrastructure, and directed energy systems disabling critical assets. It also includes Earth-based systems, such as radar stations and anti-satellite or ASAT missiles, engaging with space assets or using space for coordinated attacks on Earth. Who all are the major players? The United States has long been a global pioneer, leading the way through NASA and private companies such as SpaceX and Blue Origin. U.S. Space Command, or the SpaceCom, was first established in 1985, merged into another command in 2002, and reactivated in 2019 to address evolving threats in space. The USSF was established in 2019 to oversee military space operations. The U.S. demonstrated its anti-satellite, or ASAT, capabilities as early as 1985, when an F-15 fighter jet destroyed the Solwind P-78-1 satellite. This capability was showcased again in 2008 during Operation Burnt Frost. In April 2022, the US announced a moratorium on destructive ASAT missile tests, advocating for responsible behavior in the space domain. As the heir to the Soviet space legacy, Russia remains a major player through Roscosmos and the Russian Aerospace Forces. The Soviet Union conducted ASAT tests during the Cold War, and in November 2021, Russia destroyed the defunct Cosmos with a direct ascent ASAT missile. China's space program, led by the China National Space Administration, has made remarkable strides with successful lunar and Mars missions. In 2015, China formed the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force, and by 2024, it had established the People's Liberation Army Aerospace Defense Force specifically for military space operations. China entered the ASAT arena in 2007 by destroying its own Fengyun 1C satellite and has since advanced multiple ASAT technologies. The Indian Space Research Organization has achieved historic milestones, including the Chandrayaan lunar mission and the Mars orbiter mission. India's Defense Space Agency, established in 2019, oversees space warfare. With Mission Shakti, India became the fourth country to demonstrate ASAT capability by destroying the Microsat-R satellite. Beside these four nations, Israel's space agency boasts indigenous launch capabilities. The air and space arm of the Israeli Air Force manages military satellites and utilizes the Arrow 3 missile defense system, which intercepted a ballistic missile above the atmosphere in 2023. Other than the four ASAT-capable nations and proven capability of Israel, European Space Agency contributes significantly through programs like Copernicus and Galileo. While not a military entity, many ESA technologies are dual-use and could serve military functions. Who are the disruptors? The unpredictable elements making their mark. North Korea's National Aerospace Development Administration, established in 2013, replacing Korean Committee of Space Technology. Its satellites, including Kwangmyongsong-4 and Malakyong-1, have limited capabilities but nevertheless raise concerns. North Korea have developed intercontinental ballistic missiles such as the Hwasong-15 and Hwasong-17, capable of reaching the United States. North Korea has conducted 6 nuclear tests and claims to have miniaturized nuclear warheads. The Iranian Space Agency and Iranian Space Research Center are the main organizations carrying space research and operations in Iran. Iran launched its first military satellite, Noor-1, in 2020, followed by Noor-2 and Noor-3. While these satellites have limited precision, they support regional surveillance. Iran also possesses advanced cyber warfare tools and jamming capabilities. Its uranium enrichment levels are close to weapons grade, and if weaponized, these could potentially be delivered using space-capable missiles. And the arsenal, anti-satellite weapons, or ASATs, are at the heart of modern space warfare. These systems are designed to disable or destroy satellites, threatening the digital nerves of any military force. ASATs come in several forms. Kinetic ASATs, such as ground-launched missiles, physically destroy satellites either by direct collision or explosion. Notable examples include India's PDV Mark II, the US's ASM-135, China's SC-19, and Russia's Noodle. Co-orbital ASATs are satellites that maneuver near a target before delivering the kill, as seen in the Soviet Istrabatel Sputnikov program. Non-kinetic ASATs use energy or electronic interference instead of brute force. Directed energy weapons, like lasers, can blind or overheat satellite sensors. High-powered microwave beams can fry satellite electronics or jam communications. Electronic warfare methods include jamming, spoofing, and cyber attacks, all of which can disrupt or take control of satellite systems. Experimental platforms, such as the US's X-37B spaceplane, may soon carry robotic arms, lasers, or compact projectile launchers, serving as mobile ASAT platforms. While intercontinental ballistic missiles are not strictly ASATs, their space-traveling trajectories make them part of the broader space warfare equation. And the countermove? As ASAT weaponry advances, so do countermeasures. Nations are racing to develop satellite defenses that make these critical assets smarter, faster, and harder to kill. The first line of defense is space domain awareness, radar, and optical systems that monitor and track objects in orbit. Programs like the US Space Fence and the EU's Space Surveillance and Tracking form a global watchtower. Some modern satellites are equipped with thrusters or AI-based systems, allowing them to dodge incoming threats, as seen in the US's GSSAP and France's YODA initiative. Smart defense systems can detect jamming, spoofing, or cyber intrusions in real time and automatically respond by switching signals, rerouting data, or executing evasive maneuvers. Instead of relying on a few large satellites, many nations now deploy swarms of smaller ones, creating webs of redundancy that are far harder to dismantle. What about us on Mother Earth? Though space may seem remote, a conflict in orbit would have immediate and profound effects on daily life. Disabling satellites could disrupt navigation and threaten aviation safety worldwide. Rural and remote regions might lose internet and communication services, while financial markets could freeze due to lost time sync and trading systems. GPS-dependent logistics, from ride shares to container ships, would descend into chaos, and precision farming along with emergency services would struggle to function. Media blackouts could fuel misinformation and panic, while space debris might render low Earth orbit unusable for decades. Weather forecasting would become unreliable, global supply chains would falter, and the psychological impact of a sudden technological collapse could spark unrest and distrust in institutions. Now comes the savior, the Golden Dome. Just defense or dominance? While its name evokes science fiction, the idea is rooted in decades of missile defense innovation. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, nicknamed Star Wars, envisioned space-based lasers and interceptors to shoot down nuclear missiles. Though technology and politics limited its progress, SDI paved the way for systems like THAAD, Aegis, and now the Golden Dome. In December 2024, the U.S. Department of the Air Force presented a vision for 2050. The focus shifted from mere defense to dominance, emphasizing agility, artificial intelligence, and a resilient mesh of space-based systems. And on May 20th, 2025, President Donald Trump officially announced the Golden Dome Missile Defense Initiative, following an earlier executive order to develop an Iron Dome for America. The goal is to create an advanced shield against aerial threats, from ballistic to hypersonic missiles, and even extraterrestrial dangers. The Missile Defense Agency quickly began collecting proposals and fast-tracking development, with work already underway by the time of the announcement. The Golden Dome is far more ambitious than Israel's Iron Dome. Its multi-layered defense architecture includes ground-based interceptors for low-altitude threats, advanced missiles for high-altitude interception, and a future goal of striking missiles immediately after launch. AI-powered satellite constellations will provide space-based surveillance and tracking, integrating with existing systems like SBIRs and new data streams from both military and commercial satellites. The command and control structure will be AI-driven, fusing real-time data, automating threat detection, and enabling autonomous systems to prioritize and respond to threats faster than traditional command structures. Unlike regional systems, The Golden Dome is designed to protect the entire U.S. mainland and potentially its allies, with modular deployment options for Allied soil, U.S. territories, or naval platforms. Its interoperability with NATO, Israeli, and Indo-Pacific defense frameworks is built in from the start, and the long-term vision is a global missile defense network integrated with Aegis, THAAD, Arrow 3, and the European Sky Shield. Strategically, the Golden Dome could reboot deterrence by neutralizing the strategic advantage of nuclear threats, reducing the appeal of nuclear blackmail for rogue states and superpowers alike. It anticipates a future where space-centric warfare is the norm, with battles fought beyond Earth's atmosphere. The system also aims to reassure the public and allies, turning fear into confidence through a visible and credible defense. Wait, it's not a cakewalk? However, the Golden Dome faces significant challenges. Technically, tracking hypersonic glide vehicles, achieving reliable boost phase interception, and deploying effective space-based lasers are formidable engineering feats. Financially and politically, the costs are immense, and the potential for domestic and international backlash is high, with countries like China, Russia, and Iran already voicing concerns. More than just a shield, the Golden Dome is a geopolitical statement, signaling a future where speed, space, and autonomy could determine the fate of nations. We all now face a profound ethical dilemma. Space, once imagined as a peaceful frontier, is now being weaponized. Satellite systems power everything from GPS to financial networks, and a war in space could cripple the life on Earth. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty, signed by over 100 nations, bans nuclear weapons in orbit and the militarization of celestial bodies, but is vague on conventional weapons and lacks enforcement mechanisms. The growing threat of space debris adds another layer of risk: the Kessler syndrome. A real war in space, the question is no longer if, but when. If space becomes the next battlefield, the Golden Dome might shield us, but it also casts a long shadow. For every defense, a new offense waits silently to awaken. We may soon live in a world where wars are waged without sound and satellites strike in the stillness of the stars, and just the algorithms and metal minds deciding fates above our heads. History reminds us, peace is never born from dominance, but from shared restraint. Because when the sky turns hostile, there is no refuge, only responsibility. Space is no longer the final frontier. It's the next frontier of fear, hope, and consequence. The board is set, the clock is ticking, and the next move is ours.